Welcome to another episode of Fight the Burnout. Today we have a non-police officer, which is actually quite rare for us lately. But we have a firefighter and EMS from just outside Chicago. She'll tell us all about where she's from, what she does. But she also helps in a way similar to I do, helping people to know that what they do is not who they are, which is a huge thing that I say all the time. What you do serves you, not you serving it. So it's going to be a great conversation today. Get your pen, get your paper, note down things so that you can take one thing away. I always say just take one thing away from this conversation and implement it. Don't try and overcomplicate it. Don't try and make it crazy. As usual, I do have to put a plug in for my services because this is sponsored by it is a business. So there you go. But if you want to reach out to me at team@createfromwhy.com, I will have a conversation with you. You will get here on Zoom with you and talk about things. But it's for those first responders that are feeling like, shit, I don't know. I'm over this job. I'm feeling like I have no energy, but I'm not sure if I really do want to leave or not because there's so much good stuff. So let's have that clarifying conversation. And we do have a program here launching at the end of June, which is about a month from the time of this recording. But we can get you in the wait list. So before I continue and keep rambling, we've got AZ, Annette, here with us, and she's going to tell us a little bit about who she is, what she does, and then we'll talk about burnout and your why and your purpose and how to be the best first responder you possibly can be. Take it away.
Hello, thank you for having me. Thanks for reaching out on LinkedIn. Social media can be the absolute devil, but can also be such a blessing. You meet people that you never thought you would meet in your entire life. I am AZ. I am an 18-year veteran of the fire service in suburban Chicago. I hold the rank of lieutenant. And what I tell people is being a firefighter is the least interesting thing about me. I have so much more to offer the world than what I do. And so, it's probably been 6 or 7 years ago, I realized that I have a capability, I have a niche to provide a service directly to firefighters. And so, I use my credentials in strength and conditioning, in nutrition, in coaching to help firefighters live their absolute best lives. Because what we find is that you go into the first responder field, you give everything to that career, and you come out on the other side and you've poured from that empty cup for 20, 25, 30 years, and now you literally have nothing left. You don't have your health, you don't have your wellness, you don't have your mental capacity, and it's almost like your life is over. So I fight really hard to help first responders, specifically firefighters, live their absolute best lives.
I love that. That we're doing the very similar things. I'm targeting towards police officers. You're targeting towards firefighters. It's so true. And you said that 15, 20 years, and actually from what I'm seeing and the research that I'm reading, that it's actually dropping down lately to like 5 and or less in some areas. And it's such a scary thing, but it's so preventable. We don't have to burn out and leave. Something that we fight. I mean, I don't know how it is over there for fire, but I know here for fire and here for police and over there for police, it is a process to get in. It's
Um,
so much work and so hard to get in that we throw it out the window and lose ourselves in the process. Um, Tell me, Izzy, before we get going, what would be your definition of burnout that you, for yourself, and also that you see in, say, firefighters over there?
it's hard for me to put my finger on it because when I started the fire service, no one ever told me, no one ever educated me, like, hey, this is coming. The sleep deprivation is going to make you feel some sort of way. Seeing the full arrests on the infant, seeing just all of these things are going to make you have feelings, and those feelings are valid, and you're going to need to work through those. But nobody sort of prepared me for that. And so I didn't really have a definition of burnout. I definitely did burn out, but I didn't have a definition for it. But retrospectively, I can look back, and I had the distinct honor of meeting a wonderful person in 2014. His name is Captain George Carvajal. And George Carvajal is a captain on Miami-Dade Fire. And he's been there for 30 years. But he's also super interesting. He's also an elite strength and conditioning coach. He works with NFL athletes. He works with special operators. And he works with big board surfers. And so he's a super interesting, wonderful man. And I had the advantage of meeting him at a conference in 2014. And after the conference, I reached out to him and I said, George, if you have like 10 minutes, can I just talk to you? And he was so kind to me. And we set up an appointment, and I think we were on the phone for 2.5 hours. But we just talked about, first of all, this man saved not only my fire career, but my strength and conditioning career, because he set me straight. And he said, listen, Annette, right around 10 years, and as you're saying now, Chris, it's probably closer to 5 years, right around 10 years, maybe 12 years, you just start to feel like you can't do it anymore. And at that point, you have two choices. It's like a path. You have to pick. Either tie a knot and hang on for dear freaking life, or walk away and never look back and be so happy and don't regret it. Those are your choices. And either choice is great, and I'll support you in either choice. And you know what? That was so refreshing, just to have someone, first of all, recognize how I was feeling. And second of all, give me options, because I felt like I didn't have any options. When you raise your right hand, you don't feel like you can ever leave. No. Your choices are complete your career, collect your retirement, end of story. You don't have any other choices, but there are other choices.
Yeah, there's always choices, and this is what I tell my clients and tell all the people that I work with. You always have a choice. You might not like the choice, but you always have a choice.
Yes, and you know what? There's so much power in that. And I don't want to get off course here, but it's very interesting. A young female strength and conditioning coach contacted me not too long ago, and she's someone I know through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. She's a great person. And she said, hey, I am interested in getting into the fire service. And I was like, oh, okay, let's have a conversation. And what I do when I have conversations about the fire service, because no one ever did this for me. No one ever told me the bad parts. They only told me the good parts. And so I intentionally tell people the bad parts. And so I started out the conversation telling her X, Y, Z, and A, B, C, the bad parts. Then I told her the good parts. And I said, how did that sit with you? And she said, you know what? I think I'd still like to try it, because you know what? If I try it and I don't like it, I can do something else. And I was like, holy crap, you are so smart. I never thought that way. I didn't know I had that option.
Yeah, it's so interesting because for the last 2.5 years, well, 3 years, just over 3 years, I've helped people get into the police force here. And now I'm transitioning out of helping people get in and just helping those that are in. Obviously, I'll still be helping some of those that are wanting to get in with the same tools, because burnout is the same in strength and conditioning. You can burn out in strength and conditioning just like you can burn out in your career. And so it's interesting because I have that same conversation with every single one of my clients. This is the good of the job. I always say it, the policing, and I can only refer to policing because I haven't been a firefighter, even though I've kind of applied for it a couple of times and then decided to pull my hat out of the ring. But policing is the hardest job in the world, but the best job in the world. Because you are going to see so much, you're going to do so much, but you're also going to have literally so much crap that you're going to deal with, that you're going to see, you're going to incorporate. I mean, what was it? I read a stat somewhere. Cops see, I think it was NYPD, they did a study. They see in their first year 900 forms of trauma. 900 forms of trauma in 365 days. Whereas a civilian might see 1.5 or 2.
The 3 in their lifetime.
In their lifetime. And it's like, I think now it's maybe a little bit more with everything that's going on, but it's crazy. And so you have to realize that, and that can burn you out in its own right because you don't deal with that. What I've found as well, especially for first responders, we normally burn out because of not dealing with the trauma. So we're putting so much energy into not dealing with the trauma and shoving it away that it drains us completely and we can't put energy anywhere else. Izzy, tell me, what would you say, are some of your top tools that you use on yourself and also teach to strength and conditioning and also firefighters when it comes to burnout so that they don't burn out?
This is my favorite topic.
I know we're going to talk about this for ages, I have a feeling, and we're going to get a whole bunch of good stuff. So if you're listening, be ready for it because we're both on the same page on a lot of stuff. I obviously have some notes that she put down before we did this interview, so I'm really excited about it. So get your note, pen and paper, or just put your listening ears on because this is going to be, you're going to get a whole ton of cool insider trading as such to literally work on yourself so that you can be that best first responder or best person you can be.
So I have the great privilege of addressing not only my own department where I work full-time as a firefighter, but a few other departments addressing their brand new hires on their first day. So they fill out their tax information, they fill out their pension stuff, they fill out whatever, and then I get to talk to them. And I tell them, first of all, this is the greatest job in the world, but it's going to change you. And it can change you for the absolute worst. It can change you to the point where you don't even recognize who you are anymore. And that's what it did to me because I just wasn't prepared for it. Yes, both of us. And so what I tell them is I first start out with, here's what's taking the lives of our firefighters: suicide, cancer, cardiovascular disease, motor vehicle accidents. And those 4 things are all directly impacted by sleep deprivation. And so if people can be aware and be educated on the fact of how important sleep is, we process trauma while we sleep. We obviously secrete our growth hormone. We secrete other hormones while we sleep. We consolidate memories. All of those things happen while we sleep. And as first responders, we aren't given the opportunity to sleep a lot of times. And B, we have this sort of bravado, I'll sleep when I'm dead because I'm a tough guy, tough girl. I'll sleep when I'm dead. And so I educate them on sleep. Number 1, it's the most important thing in my opinion because it impacts all of the other things I'm going to talk about. The second thing I talk to them about is nutrition. And the research is clear. Good nutrition, good fueling impacts your mental health. It's very clear. And so every single meal that you eat, I'll go back to sleep, every single night of sleep deprivation, every single night of grabbing extra sleep, all of those things affect your epigenetic expression of your genes. And so it all matters, and it matters a lot. And so this tough guy persona or tough girl persona of it doesn't affect us, it does affect us. So sleep, nutrition. The third thing I talk to them about is mindfulness and mental health. We all come into the fire service with baggage. The fire service and the police service and the military, we attract people with adverse childhood experiences. And so we have not only the baggage that every other human brings in to their life, we have the extra adverse childhood experiences. So just mindfulness and attention to mental health. And I tell them, create a relationship with a counselor now. Whether you need to do it, go 1 or 2 times a year, just so you know that person, so that when you have something going on, you're not trying to create a new relationship out of thin air. You already have someone. So sleep, nutrition, mindfulness, and mental health. And then it's very odd. I'm a strength and conditioning coach, but I talk about physical fitness and movement last. Yes, it's very important. It really is. But those other things, the sleep and the nutrition and the mindfulness, in my opinion, are more important. And especially the sleep, it impacts everything. It impacts your nutritional decisions. It impacts how you metabolize your nutrition. It impacts your mindset, and it impacts whether you have adequate energy to move or not. So if I had to give one message to new people, please, for the love of God, please.
I'm a polo thing, but firefighters, you guys get to sleep all day long. What are you talking about?
Oh my gosh, here's the thing. You know what? In the 19th
It's funny. I don't know if you get it because you said, I know before we started recording, one of your friends is a cop, and I'm sure there's that constant. You guys just sleep and just respond to things. We're out in the car all day long. What are you talking about?
Gosh, not anymore. Like in
I
the
know.
70s, 80s, even the 90s, people did truly sit around the kitchen table, play cards during the day. Our call volume is so high
Hmm.
now. Our rigs are lower. We do so many other things: public education, fire prevention, X, Y, Z. We do
Yep.
so many things. We are so busy, and
Yep.
the cops are too. It's
Oh,
unbelievable.
it is. I just had to because there's always that rivalry between police and fire. It's funny here they do the same thing, and the amount of cops that actually then jump over to fire because they're like, wow, this is like it is, but it is. They're doing so much, and they're actually seeing so much more trauma than they used to. And I'm glad, sleep, like you said, most important thing. And as we see more and more trauma, we have a tendency to be able to sleep less and less. And what would be I want to hear your insight on this because I think it's a very important thing to recognize that it is a stage of burnout when you're struggling to sleep, when you can't actually sleep, when you lay there staring at the ceiling, or you come home from a shift and you have to have that obligatory beer to calm down, which FYI don't do. It's horrible. That comes into that nutrition side of thing, but also just it's a depressant. It's not good. You don't if you're needing that to come down. We need to look at other areas of life. But what would you say to somebody who's like has that they're having that struggle to sleep. They're when they close their eyes, maybe some of that trauma comes back because, as you said, when we sleep, our mind processes everything that we've gone throughout the day, good, bad, and different. What would your advice be to somebody who has that struggle to even sleep, where they're waking up multiple times in the night, and they don't even know why they're waking up multiple times? They just do. Because I can put my hand up and say I was there. I don't know if you were, but when I was burned out real bad, I was doing that. What would be your advice there?
It's interesting with sleep in first responders. A lot of times cognitive behavioral therapy can help. So it can help with the anxiety of not being able to sleep, but also a lot of times it doesn't help.
Mm.
And so my biggest advice to someone is to reach out for professional help. There's a myriad of different resources that you could reach out for. Many of our first responders, interestingly enough, even if they're not overweight and obese, even if they don't have that giant fat neck, even if they're not 60-year-old male, many of our first responders have sleep apnea, and it's undiagnosed and it's untreated. And so my first suggestion to people is just reach out for help, whatever that looks like. Does it look like going for some therapy? Does it look like a sleep expert? Does it look like Jacqueline at First Responder Sleep Recovery, which is based out of Colorado, and she teaches the yoga nidra, so the relaxation techniques, whatever it looks like, reach out for help, because if you're not sleeping, nothing's going well. And
Mm.
so the other thing I'd coach people on is that many of us aren't sleeping enough simply because we don't give ourselves enough opportunity.
Mm.
We do truly need 7 to 9 hours of sleep as an adult. So if you're only giving yourself 5 hours in bed, you're never going to get enough sleep.
No.
So control your controllables, which is off duty, and then do your very best on duty and try not to be salty about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's the best advice. And you spoke about the cops, and I mentioned before, my best friend is a cop. I don't know how he does it. He was on nights. He's also a SWAT officer, and so there's all this training during the day. He also has to go to court. I mean, he would get off at 7 o'clock in the morning, head to court, head to SWAT training, head back to work the next night, and never have gotten so much as a nap. I don't know how they do it. I have no idea. I feel rotten today. and I had 4 calls after bedtime last night, and my watch told me it didn't even register that I got sleep, but I probably got maybe 2 or 3 hours cumulatively, and I feel horrible. I don't know how cops do it.
Yeah, I've been there. So I did, as some viewers might know, but some of the new ones not. I did my last 3.5, 4 years was on diplomatic protection, which was our version of Secret Service, and there would be weeks where I would get they'd want us to not breach what they called the 9 hour rule. So you had to have 9 hours off. So that's leaving the station and then back to the station. No more, like, no, you had to have 9 hour gap in there. But there'd be times where you really didn't. And I also lived about a 40-minute, half hour, 40-minute drive from the station. And so there would be weeks where we would literally rack up where we like there are some times where you'd only have 4 hours off. And I had to drive home in that time because of the role that I was playing in that operation. I didn't have accommodation. And so I can relate to it. And then there's other times where I do night shifts, and because I was training for our version of SWAT before I did that, I would literally finish night shift and then go do a training session with the AOS guys, with our SWAT guys, do some training stuff with them, then go home, have a nap, and then get up and go do a couple hours of training, and then have dinner and go back to work.
So listen to what we're saying.
I know. It's
The public,
horrible.
the public doesn't realize any of this. To them, we're just the lazy fat firefighters who sit in their recliners all day, or the cops that
See, I
get
didn't
on.
I didn't look I didn't look like that fat person because I just have those genetics where I could eat and then in the middle of the night I'd be hungry, and so I'd go to McDonald's. And I
Okay, so
drink
now
and I drink half a I drank a 500 ml Red Bull every night, or we have V, like we had V, which is a local kind of Red Bull version, to keep me awake at night. And I wonder why I burned out.
but the public says those cops and firefighters have it so easy. They make so much money, and then they get a pension for the rest of their lives. Like, it is so easy.
Yeah. But yet we're sitting there, and then we start to, and I can relate to this because, I'm speaking from my own experience, and that's all I can really do, is then I sat there and I would wonder why I was negative, why I was short, why I had a temper, why people would piss me off so easily, why I would go down that rabbit hole of negativity of the bosses don't care about me, that person didn't get sentenced enough, I don't get paid enough for this crap. You know all the ones, you've heard them all. And if you're listening to this and you're sitting there saying all those things, take a self eval. Take a self evaluation and be like, "Ooh, wait a second, I do that. What do I need? What's one area that I can improve on? Just to one step."
You know what I did though? I justified it.
Oh,
I
I
was
did as
like,
well. I said, "This is what I have to do because this is my job."
oh no, this
Oh,
is
did you go
worse,
further?
I think. I think this is worse. I used to be an extrovert, but then I got into this job and I realized that I'm really an introvert. And so that's why I stay home by myself and cancel plans and drink, half a bottle of wine by myself. I'm an
Yo,
introvert.
okay, I agree. I did the same thing. I have to. Yeah, It's funny when once you've worked through it a lot, you just kind of just like when you're in it, you forget a lot. Once you've worked through it, you forget a lot of the pain. And I'm redoing my business right now, and I'm like, okay, now how was I like back then? I got to really remember because that's who I'm trying to help. And it is you justify it, don't you? You literally say, oh no, I won't go out. I won't meet up with friends, or you're at the dinner party, or you're at a party because your loved one takes you to it and is like, you're coming with, and I've organized this, and you're there and you say about 3 words to the ghost in the corner. And you sit there and you go, and people go, what's going on? You're not acting like yourself. And you go, there's nothing wrong with me. What are you talking about? I'm this.
I'm just tired.
I'm just tired. It was a long shift when actually it was one of those shifts where you did nothing.
No, it's a long career, and the
Yeah.
long career starts on day one.
Yeah,
And so
it
if you're not
does.
prepared for it,
Yeah.
it hits you in the head.
Oh, it hits you. It hits you. I always refer to it as like Mike Tyson. If anybody's like, a lot of first responders know of Mike, and most people around the world know about Mike Tyson. They know about that left hook of his. And it's like you're sitting there and you're dodging these hits, and then all of a sudden you get hit by Mike Tyson's left hook, and it literally throws you to the mat, and you don't know what happened, you don't know where it came from, and so this is why we're here. To tell you that it is okay, and it shouldn't be normal, but it is. And as you said, sleep, nutrition, mindfulness, and mental health, and that fitness, movement. I always, my thing is do some sort of movement a day. Now, a lot of people think of movement as I need to go to the gym, I need to burn 600 calories, and I need to work out for an hour and lift lots of weights and get really sweaty and all this. And I say, no, it's not. Movement is what your body needs today. And if you don't know what your body needs today, then ask it. Or just do something. And that could be a walk, that could be a yoga, that could be sitting outside on the deck having a cup of coffee looking at the scenery. Appreciate the little things.
While you're breathing.
While you're breathing.
Add that on.
Yeah, add that on. Yeah, while you're breathing, because we don't breathe enough. But I remember I was at my uncle's house and I was doing my motorcycle soul searching trip that I did, and to refine myself. And I was at my uncle's house, and he's out in the middle of Texas, outside Austin, and middle of Texas, has a ranch. He's got deer that come on, and there's little baby fawns like right off the road, off of his driveway, like crouched down. I've got some. It's so cool. And I remember waking up, and I woke up before everybody else, and I was sitting out on his deck, just on one of the little chairs, and I was sitting there. And he came out, and my aunt came out, and then we're sitting there having a chat, and they go, "We don't sit out here enough. We used to when we first got the place, but we don't really sit out. We need to do this more often." Thanks, Chris. I was like, all I did was sit down. I sat down and I was self-contemplating and going, where the hell am I? What am I doing? And where do I want to get to? But it's so true. Sometimes movement is just actually sitting and doing nothing, and just letting thoughts flow through our head, letting the movement there. So I love that. What I want to come back to real quick, though, is that mindfulness, that mental health side. Because you said something that really hit with me, and it's something that I've said a lot to people, and I've said out, and I don't feel like it hits enough for first responders. We bring our own childhood pasts into the job. And most people, if you haven't done any coaching or counseling or psychologist stuff, and it's all okay to get, you're not weak if you get it. It's great to actually have because you grow. We bring all that in, and so we run from that. I didn't recognize it until after I left. I ran from all this pain of abandonment, and so literally anytime something would go wrong, I would feel subconsciously abandoned. Because my dad went to chiropractic school when I was 5 and would be gone during the week. All week long, and then back on the weekends, and then would leave again at 4 or 5 years old. And that, in my mind, that's minor. Like, I'm like, that is nothing compared to some of the people that I know and have worked with, and like, also, how do you help, how do we help first responders realize that? For those that are listening, how do we actually go, hey, this is a tool to look at. I want to hear your side, AZ, on that, or how you help people navigate that, or just bring awareness to it.
So I was not very emotionally aware when I started the fire service. Emotionally intelligent, let's call it that. I was an only child for 8 years, and then I was joined by a brother. My parents were very young when they had me. We moved around a lot, like a lot. And so the thing was, I was never taught how to handle controversy and confrontation. And so to me, that was something I ran away from, and I could run away from it because even if I got in a fight with my friends, without fail, we were moving within 6 months or a year. I would have new friends. So I got really good at making new friends, but very bad at conflict and controversy. And if the police service is anything like the fire service, they thrive on conflict and controversy. The ability to tell someone they're doing something wrong, what they're doing is screwed up, even if they're getting the job done and it's absolutely fine, they thrive on that.
Yep.
That was devastating to me because I didn't understand it. And so the fact that I wasn't emotionally prepared for basically for adulthood, but let's be honest, for what is the fire service made it super, super difficult. And so gently, I tell new people, we all have crap. We're carrying around a load of crap. In fact, I saw a great, I think it was a TikTok. I don't have TikTok, but someone sent it to me. It was this beautiful blonde girl. She had a backpack and she's like, working the fire service is really hard. And they just kept adding rocks to her backpack during this TikTok. And finally she was like, oh my God, it's so heavy. So I kindly and gently tell new people that the fire service is heavy and you likely already have rocks in your backpack, excuse me, rocks in your backpack. And so that's why it's so important to go talk to someone to help you sort out your rocks before you even start. Because the fire service, just the fire service is heavy, and then they start throwing those rocks in your backpack.
Yeah.
Hope that answered the question. I went on a
It,
total tangent.
no, it totally did, and I love the analogy of the rocks because it puts it full on into perspective. And I actually might grab that one and use it a bit as well because it's so true. You know, police service, you don't just have the rocks of the department and what you see and deal with. You also have the media. The you have the politicians. You have the your bosses as well. Everything within. You have then yourself, the family. You know, which is I know fire deal with a lot as well, but you have so much other. I mean, these goddamn things, the phones. Like I remember when I started, they were just really getting popular back in like 2010. The videoing and that, it was a big thing. Now it's just literally like they'll take and they'll snippet just the bad stuff out of it and not show the pre-lit. And so, and I know fire gets that as well, and you know EMS and all that. But you have all those rocks, so I love it. The one thing I will say is even if you're already in the job, it's never too late. It's
Not
never
a
too late to
thing.
work through it, and if you can work through it, and that's where I come in, and that's my specialty with it, and I love digging into. I call it using my Jedi mind tricks of like going in and getting into the brain and going, okay, cool, well, where is this? And then shifting the meaning that you've put on it for your entire life into, wow, that's actually created an empowering position for me. It's actually a strength to me. It's not what my subconscious has been telling me that it's a weakness or that it's bad, that I shouldn't do that because everything that we have has worked for us to get us exactly where we are now, and we can't push against that.
I tell people I would describe myself as pretty smart. I was the salutatorian of high school, so the second person. I went to a great college. I have a master's degree. Like, I'm pretty smart. And I didn't put the pieces together.
Mm.
I didn't realize that sitting on my couch by myself, watching a movie, canceling plans, I didn't understand that that was depression. I thought depression was sadness.
Mm.
So I didn't understand. I didn't understand that that was burned out. And so, as a smart, quote unquote, clinically smart person, if I didn't understand it, I don't think a lot of people understand it.
Mm-mm.
And the thing that opened my eyes, and this is so important, I have two people that I always shout out. Chris Fields, who is the Oklahoma City fire captain, that iconic picture of the Oklahoma City bombing where he's holding that baby. Chris Fields says, if you have a story to tell, you need to tell it. And then Megan Young is a strength and conditioning coach. She was at Auburn University, then she was with the Chicago Red Stars, and she's moved on to another coaching position. But Megan says, tell me your story. Don't leave anything out. Meaning, tell me the good stuff and tell me the bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what saved me, ironically, was a sort of a local firefighter from a couple of departments, a couple of cities away. He started something called the Illinois Firefighter Peer Support Group. And he got on our speaking schedule for our department one day. And I was looking on my phone, like, oh, what's Matt? Matt Olson. Matt Olson's coming to talk to us. I wonder what he's going to talk to us about. And it's a peer support. And so I kept an open mind. Firefighters do not have an open mind.
Nor do cops.
Nor the cops, nor the military. It's what makes us good at our job.
A-type personality, get out of my way, I'll make it happen.
I'm going to solve the problem, right? It makes us good at our job, but it makes us hella terrible clients.
Yeah.
But anyway, I kept an open mind because I really liked Matt. And he started telling his story. And basically it was, I saw a lot of bad crap. I didn't expect my life to turn out as an alcoholic firefighter. Like, this is not what I expected for myself. And he pulled himself out of that. But by him telling his story, it made the light bulb go on in my head, change my life.
Yeah. And it's so true.
We need to tell our stories and not just the good parts.
Yeah.
You as cops probably sit around the break room table or whatever you call it. We sit around the kitchen table, we shoot the crap and tell the hero crap of our stories, and we never tell the bad parts.
That's why I say that the number one mandatory thing that they should put into policing, I know, is mandatory debriefs at the end of the day. And that's telling the good, the bad, the sadness, the love, the hate, all of it, so that you get to know each other. You know, the difference, and I read this somewhere, I think it was Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement. He puts it in the book. And he talks about the fact of, the difference between police and fire, and the reason that up until recently, police have been there's been more suicides and stuff within policing, and that is because when we go to a job, there might be 6 cops there. There's a fire truck, a couple fire trucks that get there. 6 cops turn up there. When they leave, the cops hop into their car on their own and they drive away. The fire guys all jump into the truck together and they start talking about it. Sometimes, if they're a good unit. But the cops don't. They just go to the next job.
Right.
They're just dispatched to the next job individually, and they just do this individual thing. If they have a good unit, then they'll talk about it maybe at the end of the day or over lunch, or maybe someone will get together later on and they might talk about it. But it's very, very rare. And so it's one of those things that can be very destructive. Before we run out of time, I want to jump into my most favorite and also the number one tool that I think is the most important, which is knowing what I call your why. The thing that drives you, the real identity of yourself. My why is I help myself and others see their true selves, so we create a better version of ourselves. It's my mission statement. It's who I am. I help people see themselves. I also help myself see myself first. So it's me, then others. Az, what would you say your why is? Because this kind of comes into that whole thing of you're not what you do, you're who you are. Or you serve yourself, not serving others. You serve yourself so you can then give to others. What would you say your why or your mission statement is in life?
So it's kind of 2-part. I am dedicated to the health and wellness of firefighters worldwide and to helping them live their best lives. Because what I found out is that it's really interesting. You think you're going to be a big hero and you're going to save all the lives and you're going to make all the grabs. And literally, I'm saving no lives on the street. Maybe once in a while. But I have a bigger purpose. If I can help firefighters be more healthy, more well, more mentally healthy, then I'm a force multiplier, because those firefighters that I help way more people, exponentially more people than I'll ever be able to help on my own. I think I've saved 1 baby in my entire career, but if I'm helping hundreds of firefighters live their best lives and be their best selves, then hundreds and hundreds of babies will be saved throughout their careers.
I love that. People ask me all the time, would you ever go back to the place? I go, no, because I'm impacting more people now.
Yes. We are force multipliers.
Yeah. Where does that come from? Where does that, because my belief and the tools that I do and the part of my program that I do is I help people really identify that deep seated why. Beyond the logic, into the emotion, and all the way back to where it stems from. Mine, again, comes back to my dad going away and me feeling not seen by him. Where would you say yours comes from? Way back.
I'm actually working through that right now.
Cool. Let's work
So,
together. I'll help you do it.
so you know what? I was seeing a therapist last year who was more of like a talk, let's talk things out, feelings, feelings, feelings. And she, unfortunately, we were making great progress, and she went on maternity leave and never came back. And so I'm seeing a therapist now that works with the nervous system,
Yeah.
which is super interesting, but also I'm super ignorant about it. The
Mm.
nervous system in sport performance, I got
Oh,
it. The
yeah.
nervous system in emotion, brain, how does your nervous system feel? I don't got it. We're still working on it.
Yeah. I'd love to hear more about that. So I think what we need to do is, because we both have limited time today, is we need to, I think, have another conversation around, you tell me a bit about that. I'll help you find your why. So that true why, because I have a system that works, that we take people through, and we dig deep and we go in through it, and it's what I now am teaching to departments and that as well, to help their officers so they really know who they are, so that then what they do serves them. So we'll take you through that, but I do love where you're at with that force multiplier and the impacting firefighters with their health and fitness, because it is so important. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do it?
Well, my website, www.firerescuewellness.org. It's all spelled out. There's a contact me button there, or I'm pretty active on Instagram, and so I'm at Fire Rescue Wellness.
Cool, perfect. And we'll put those links in the description down below as well, so that people can reach out to you should they want to just get to know you, talk to you more, see your services and all that, or if they are like, hey, I'm a firefighter, I want to learn about this. What would be your top tip to self-happiness? Last question for you.
I would say taking a real good look with a microscope at yourself, because we're so external. We look at so much that's going on outside of us. Bring it in tight, look at yourself, and really figure out what drives you. And then part two, sleep.
I love it. I love it. Just straight mic drop sleep. Um, Perfect. Any last words, Az?
No, the only other thing that I have cool going on is that in terms of being a force multiplier, I can't work with every department in the world. And so what I'm trying to do now is work with physical therapists, athletic trainers, mental health specialists, all of those types of people, helping them learn the culture of the fire department so that they can provide services to the fire department. So if you're one of those people, hit me up. I can help.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. I love it. As we wrap up with this episode, first off, I want to thank you, Az, for being here, taking time out of your day. And also for those that are listening, thank you for listening and or watching. As I said in the beginning, take one thing out of this. There's a whole bunch of tools there. There's a whole bunch of things, but take one thing. As Az said, sleep. Just work on that sleep. Could be your number one thing. Could be your nutrition. Not going to McDonald's at 2 in the morning and actually making some food before you do it. If you go over to my Instagram, Chris Chandler-Yates, I actually did a live with a friend of mine who's a nutritionist for nurses. And so, we talked all about that as well. So nutrition is a massive thing. I know we didn't go into a lot of detail today about it. And that mindfulness or that health and fitness. Just working on one thing today. Just start working on that one thing and you'll see, everything change. I was talking to somebody the other day and they brought it back to my awareness. If you just shift 1 degree every day for the next 365 days, you will or years. But if you do it every single day for a year, you'll be 37 times further along. That's 37 times further along.
Aggregation of marginal gains.
Exactly. So don't try and eat the whole elephant at one time. Just take one bite at a time. So thank you for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this out to anybody and everybody that you know that could get something from it, whether they're a first responder or not. And again, thank you, Az, for being here. And we will talk to you guys again very soon.